quite a shocking announcement that came out of Tanzania on Wednesday about the passing of President John Magufuli, who died at 61 years of age. He had been missing for some time, and there were reports that he was receiving treatment in Kenya, other reports that he was receiving treatment in India. Most people suspected that he had been infected with COVID, but I think most people also expected that he was going to recover, as Boris Johnson did when he got it, as Donald Trump when he got it, as Bolsonaro did when he got it, but then he passed away. And I think it's a tragic event. A lot of Tanzanians are deeply mourning what has happened, are deeply saddened by his passing. But I think that, especially given that we are reflecting on the legacy of the Arab Spring today, we have the opportunity to reflect on the legacy of President Magufuli, which I think reveals a lot about the nature of post-colonial African politics. And when thinking about Magufuli's legacy, when he came to power in 2015, he basically began on pretty much a hopeful note. So he was this corruption-busting resource nationalist, but after the 5 years of which he was in power, he ended his rule as an authoritarian COVID-19 denialist. And I think that his presidency, in many ways, simply replayed a leadership script which is seemingly written into post-liberation Africa, which is step one, appropriate anti-colonial rhetoric to indigenize capitalism. Step two, make modest redistributions to the masses. And step three, weaponize all of this to consolidate the regime's power. And then all of those seemingly progressive policies that you've put forward start to unravel. And as it concerns us today, this is exactly the script that the Arab Spring tried to challenge. So when thinking about Magufuli's legacy in particular, I think that a lot of people have acknowledged that it's a very mixed legacy. There's some good and there's also a lot of bad. But I think personally that I've been kind of surprised by just how swift the hagiography has been. And I think that what that reveals is that we're still kind of trapped in this false dichotomy between development and economic self-determination on the one hand, which everybody says Magufuli espoused till the very end, and then democracy and political self-determination on the other hand, which Magufuli brutally repressed. And what I think is that a lot of people are ignoring is that towards the end of his first term and in the beginning of the second term, which he barely got to preside over, a lot of his policies were starting to unravel. I mean, they probably weren't going to survive the coming confrontation with global capital that he set up. And what I think this is a lesson in is that the only way you can implement radical reform is if you build a popular base capable of withstanding capital's backlash. And the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, that Tanzania's working class, just like the working class elsewhere in the world, is weak and disorganized. So I think that the ultimate lesson is this, that whether or not you're a Democrat, populism is no substitute for mass democratic power if you want to win. And one person who I think is really instructive on this point is the late and great Walter Rodney. And as it just so happens, today is also his birthday. He was born in 1942 in Guyana. And Rodney in 1978 had been delivering lectures at the University of Hamburg, and he was preparing to write his seminal text, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And he was reflecting on his experience in Tanzania. He spent some time at the University of Dar es Salaam, and he made an observation about the role of Julius Nyerere and the Liberation Party which he represented, which was the Tanganyika African National Union, which is a precursor to Chama cha Mapinduzi, which is the ruling party at this moment. And what he said then is that my feeling is that in spite of all the rhetoric, TANU has not been transformed, that it remains a nationalist party under the control of the petty bourgeoisie, incapable of providing the basis for sustained socialist transformation. And he went on further to say that it is important to recognize that it fits within the general pattern, which we have been discussing so far, by which the colonization process ended through an alliance of classes. But within this alliance, the workers and the peasants never really had hegemony. And he was right then, and he is right now. And as always, the question that we confront in every episode of the show is, what is to be done about that?